Welcome to our session. I'm Wesley Holden. I'm the product advisor here at Totara Learning. Thank you for joining me this morning. So the focus for today's session is on notifications, or what I like to call, where did this email come from? Totara is capable of sending out notifications from a lot of different areas of the system. They can be role-based, so they can go out to administrators, they can go out to learners, they can go out to staff managers, they can be context-based based on where you are working in the system. They can be more generic system notifications that administrators may receive. So there's a plethora of them out there. So let's talk about that and how we can manage them and how we can give permission to our staff and our learners to manage them as well. Because as you all know, we get tons of emails and notifications and things like that every day that are constantly trying to grab our attention. So let's make sure that we're doing it in the right way and keeping the learner focused on their work, not distracting them from what they're trying to do. So there are essentially four types of messages that are coming from Totara, and honestly, as we go, we'll probably think of more. So please feel free to pop in the chat if you're like, hey, what about this other one that I may have missed? Because honestly, there's a lot. First, we have system notifications. These are often ones that are going out to site administrators. They are ones that are automatically generated by the system. These will be things like if you're using programs, you might receive exception reports. You might receive notifications when user imports are happening, if there are any errors or anything like that going on. They are things that help you just keep your Totara Learn site up and running. They are automated. They come out via email. They typically come from an address that you've set as a site administrator within the site itself. And so you'll get those and be able to go and manage your site as is appropriate. There are also role-based notifications and tasks, which kind of overlap a little bit with the system, but role-based notifications and tasks in this sense refers more to things like in programs. I may set up a reminder message that has someone get an email saying, hey, you need to go complete your program within 30 days. So the learner may receive a copy of that. We can also set it up so that their staff manager receives a copy of that notification as well, or a slightly adjusted version of it of, hey, this person needs to do this thing, and after they're done, then you need to go complete their appraisal, or some notification that gives them their next step or prods them to prod their learner to get their work done. Those role-based notifications and tasks will come to a person if it is contextually appropriate for them to receive it. So for example, staff manager gets staff manager version of the message, learner gets learner version. We also have notifications that trainers will receive, or editing trainers. So if, for example, you're working in a course and people come and sign up for your seminar session, those can send out notifications letting you know that people are signing up. You can also have notifications going out letting people know that they've been signed up for a seminar, that maybe the room is full, but there's a wait list started. So lots of things like that can go out as well. And there is a slight difference between a notification and a task, and we are going to actually look at the system as well, but I kind of wanted to talk at a conceptual level about some of this just because it can be kind of overwhelming to just jump into the system itself. The tasks are things that someone needs to do something about. A notification may resolve in a task, like I get a notification that my HR import hit an error, so I need to log in and do something about it. That's where the notification message is coming in, just giving me information, but I'm taking the step to actually go and do something about it. A task, on the other hand, is something that the system is giving you a way to resolve it. For example, if I am a staff manager, my learner has tried to sign up for a course and a learning plan, I will get a notification saying, hey, this person is trying to get signed up for this, and it will ask my approval. As part of that notification, that task notification, it's going to also include the links that I need to go and resolve that. So links to the learning plan, the approve or deny buttons sometimes. So it depends on what it is you have to approve or what task you need to perform to resolve that situation. We also have feature-based notifications. I've already talked a little about programs and learning plans. Other features will also kick out notifications. So that can be things at the course level, like discussion forums. If somebody posts, other folks can receive that via email or as a notification. If you are using the chat tool, You'll get notifications sometimes from other users potentially. That's a little more into the user messaging area though. Other feature-based notifications are going to be things like if you have appraisals, the learner can get a notification that they have an appraisal that's coming up due or that their manager needs to complete part of the appraisal. So these are all different areas of the system that can be generating different types of messaging. So where do they go? Messages are received in essentially one of 3 to 4 ways. One, there's the message inbox. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop out of the PowerPoint and go into the system so that I can show you some of this. I was going to do screenshots, but it was one of those things where I was going to be jumping into the system so much that it didn't make sense to do, a whole bunch of screenshots when I could just log in and show you. I'm logging into the demo site as a learner because I know there's tons of notifications for this person. We can see the message inbox here at the top. So up in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to make it a little easier to see. So next to the person's name, and keep in mind this is a default install of Totara, so this is how it's coming out of the box. If you are a partner company and you've built themes for your clients, it's going to look a little bit different. If you are a subscriber, again, your site might look a little bit different depending on the theme that has been set up for you. Out of the box, we have this messages option. So I can click in here, see the messages that have come to me. So I can see that I received a confirmation that I was booked onto a session. If I click in, then it actually takes me to the messaging center, which is what I'm calling it, but essentially to the messages feature to see that. I can also see there was a message that came to me kind of on behalf of my manager, just letting me know that this thing had gone out. The one came from the system, one is just sort of informational for me. So that's one area, this messages area. This is also the area that if another user messages me directly, like if I have a question for Michael, I can click and add him as a contact and send him as a message if I want to. So I can say, hey, thanks for, confirming this. And so this is an example of user messaging where I'm sending a message directly to Michael. He will see that response either in his messages area, it'll pop up with a little notification, or he can receive it via email. So again, there's a couple of different ways he can get that. The other thing we'll see up here though is here's that little notifications area. So again, this is a system notification that I'm receiving. And I am getting it through the system, but I could also potentially be getting it via email as well. So the messages area is one, the notification system. You will also potentially have blocks set up on your system that allow you to see upcoming things. Let me see, I don't think this user has any messages or notifications on the dash, but what we can do is I can go and turn those blocks on real quick just to show you. So I've just gone in to customize this page. And if I want to, I can go and add that block. So just add it at the bottom here. So we can add the alerts block. That will give me some notifications. There is also another one, the tasks block. So these may or may not be set up on your dashboards. Again, it's up to your site administrator whether they've chosen to show that or not. So we'll add tasks as well. So the blocks are the third option, the other place that these things may show up in the system. Now, one thing I'm going to do, notice that you see these blocks right now, but if I turn off customizing this page, they disappear. The reason for that is that the tasks and notification blocks can be set up so that they only appear on the page if the person has received a message. Otherwise, they're just going to see a blank box, so it's not displayed. Those are a couple of the places we're going to see them. The final place is in the person's email. You can have those same messages going out to the person via email. The system just uses the email address that is on the user's profile, so that's one of the reasons why we require an email address when you're getting set up. If I go to edit, I don't think I have permission to edit on this particular site for the user to edit their own email address, but that is something you can allow if you choose to. But my user will then receive potentially copies of those notifications via email. They would also get things like forum subscriptions and things like that as well via email. So I'm just going to keep clicking on through. The next question being, how can I change where those messages go? And we're going to look at this both from a learner's perspective, but then we're also, and I shouldn't just say a learner, it's going to be any user. Any user can manage this about themselves if you're a manager, a learner, a trainer, etc. Um, but we'll look at it from the end user's perspective, what they can set for themselves, and then we'll look at it from an administrator's perspective, how I can change it for other people. So, back over to my system. If I am in my user profile, and if I want to, I can also just go from my profile, from my little link here, and I can go straight into preferences. We're going to have message and notification preferences for every user. And again, it's up to you if you've allowed people to have permission to access these. So if I go message preferences, this is going to decide whether personal messages, so a message that comes from one user to another, will show up in my task block, my alert block, or come to me via email. And it's nice because it depends on if the person is online, literally if they are logged into the system when the message is sent, or if they are offline, you can have different behaviors. You can also set it up such that you can actually prevent people from messaging you that aren't your contacts. So it's a way to sort of filter out, if you have a site with thousands of users, filtering out spam from other users and things like that. The other option, though, is the notification preferences. So when notifications are coming in, we can go through and say, okay, first we can just disable all notifications. We don't want to get anything. If the person is going on leave for a while or something like that and they don't want to get any messages from the system, that's fine. Otherwise, we can go through and decide, based on different sources in the system, what messages we want to receive and how we want to receive them, and how we want to receive them if we are online versus if we are offline when they are sent. The task block, the alert block, so I think I was calling this the notifications block, same thing. Via web, meaning are they going to pop up in these two right here? Or via email, do we want it to come to our external email address? And if I click there, I can actually, if I want to, send it to a different email address potentially, and decide if I'm getting plain text or HTML format. So you can get as fancy as you want to with these. So this user is pretty much set to the defaults in the system. They're not really receiving like assignment notifications. They're getting mostly via the web or email if they're offline. Feedback notifications, discussion forum posts are coming via email. So you can see for those different activities what's going to happen. You can see for the system notifications they're going to receive. So things like, we don't really do course creation requests, kind of more in the corporate world, but if you have that on, you can get notifications. If I receive badges for work that I've done, or if I receive a badge because I created the badge, or receive notifications because I created the badge, where is it going to go? Comments that are received around competencies and learning plans. And then some other messages around like how I've been enrolled on courses. If I have courses that are going to expire on me, I can get notifications about that. And then down below, we can see additional like Totara messages. So these would be things that are coming from Totara specific functionality. So things like learning plans and programs and stuff like that. And then the final piece, user data management. If I've requested an export of my data under the GDPR user data compliance requirements, I can get a notification about that. So this is all for the user to be able to manage about themselves if they choose to. They can come in and manage their notification preferences. You can set the defaults, though, for what people will receive and how they will receive it site-wide as well. So you have some choices there. We're going to get into the site administration side now, because the next piece is, how do I change the message? How do I change how it gets out there? So there's kind of, I'm going to say two sorts of places that you go to in order to change the message. Literally, I want to change the wording of an email, or I want to change the wording of the notification when it shows up in tasks, that sort of thing. It'll be in one of two places, language packs or within the feature-based notifications. So we're going to look at editing in the language pack first. So for folks that haven't maybe delved this deeply into a Totara site yet, the language that you see on the page, the words notification preferences, the fact that this menu item says record of learning, that sort of thing, all of that text that's shown is held in what's called a language pack. Every language, so English, Spanish, French, etc., has a pack. And what you can do is you can go in and change this, what they call strings within those language packs to say something else. Like if I don't want to say notification preferences because that's not the language my business uses, I could change this. I could say messaging preferences or alert preferences or something like that. So the way we change that, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hop on my own little local site to poke at that. Oh, let me get my little server turned on. We'll give that a second. What we're going to do, and you can see things that are controlled by a language pack, like if I switch to looking at this in German, anything that you see that changes language, these are all things that are stored in a language pack. So notice my site message here does not change. This is because it was put into a language string, but there's not a German version of it. It's not added to the language pack. On here where it says want to learn more, this is content that was added to the site. It's not part of the language pack. So the language packs really do refer to more of like the system tools within the site. Your notifications are part of a language pack. That's where they come from initially. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to log out as this user while I wait for my little local site to start up. Oh, let me get, sorry, my tools for Zoom are kind of floating in the way. We'll log out. Let me get my little local site fired up there now that my server is started. And I'm actually going to go in here as an administrator. Okay. So now I have the administrator's view of this. If I come in, I may have, my different dashboard with my different notifications and things like that showing up. Let's see, I don't think this person has anybody that they manage 2 people directly that haven't logged in a while, so they don't have any notifications for me to show you. But what we care about is going in and changing the messaging. So if I come in and say, okay, let's go and change the language pack. And if you're not quite sure where to find it, you can always just search. You can just search for language if we want to. Okay. And in this case, you can go through and decide, what languages are showing on your site and things like that. So there's a few menu options there. But if I want to actually get properly into my language packs, I can do that. And I'm going to go down, and to get to it from the proper menu, if we just go under localization, you're going to be able to get to this screen. So I'm going to go language customization. I'm going to choose the language I want to change. So one thing to keep in mind, like for example, if you have both English, US English and British English turned on, that sometimes you have to make the change in both packs. I'm going to go open my pack for editing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the language I want to change. So for a really common one that people want to change is when a user first gets set up for the site, they want to have a welcome email go out. And that welcome email goes out and helps the person get logged in for the first time. So what we can do is we can look for some of the language that's in that string, right? So some of the language that shows up in that email or that notification. So if we go back again, and actually let me just pop up a different browser real quick, because what I want to do is show you just on the fly what it looks like when we change the language pack, because it changes it in the moment. Like as soon as we make the change, it is applied to our site. So that's something to keep in mind. So for example, let's log in as our learner again. Let's look at a notification that they have. So this is a notification that's coming from a seminar. And so that's going to be a feature-based one, and I'll show you how to change those notifications in a second. But let's go back, because we had that conversation with Michael where we got the advice around the user being booked for a course. And what we can do is just search for part of the text from that. So we need to say, okay, where does this live? Honestly, I just select all of these. What text are we looking for? I'm going to click on show strings. And honestly, there is, if you have never done language pack changes before and you're feeling a little intimidated, come to the Totor community site and, oops, let me get my proper password in there. Because there is information here and on the help site about localization that will help you get up and running with changing languages and things like that. Localization course. So this is a really good one to look at because it'll help you do things like installing the language pack, customizing it, etc. But for our benefit, so we searched for our string, and so here now we're finding the text that was in those messages. So we're going to find the one that's specifically for the message we were looking for, and we can go ahead and change that. And all we do, like in this case, I'm going to go copy this and paste it in customization. The system is going to automatically fill in some things for me. So first name and last name can be automatically populated based on the user that's receiving the message. So we can go in and do some customization there. If I wanted to say, maybe we don't use team leader / manager as our language, we use the word mentor, I can come and just change it. And then I'm going to go and I can change that wherever I need to. I can go ahead and save my changes. And so now anytime that message goes out to someone, they're going to see that new language. So you can go through, customize it as needed, and it's going to affect the notification as it shows up in the system for the user. It's going to affect the email that goes out. It's going to affect what shows up in the alerts block, all of that. So again, that was a really quick walkthrough of what can be a very complex process. So please feel free to check out the localization course over on Totoro.community if you want more information and want more practice before you start working on your live site with making those sorts of changes. So that's one way that we can change language. The other way is actually going into the specific feature that is generating the notification and making the change there. Really common one that people run into is programs. When you're setting up programs for your user, you have to go through and set up notifications, reminders of like, hey, you have a program coming up due that you need to go complete, like that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into a program and show you what it looks like to modify that message. So I'm going into my program, and I'm just clicking on Edit here, and I have a Messages tab. And so I can come in, and these are the notifications that go out regarding this program. So in this case, there's just an enrollment message that has a subject line and a message body. It's automatically emailed based on, in this case, the user enrolling in a program or having been enrolled on a program. So I could just come through and change the text as needed. If I want to send additional notifications around programs, I just go in and choose the event that's going to trigger it. Like for example, the program coming up due, I can say 2 weeks before it's due, automatically send a notification out. So you'll find kind of two pieces to this. One, this default text is actually coming from a language pack as well. So if you always want your programs to start with a different message, you can go and change that at the language pack level. And then the individual feature like this will inherit that new language every time you create a new program. Other areas that have their own messaging set up, seminars is another really big one. So if I go in to one of my courses, looks like somebody's been working on the site and updating images. It's great. If I go into my health and safety course, this is where I have seminars set up. So we'll go view. And because I'm in as an editing trainer, in my case as an administrator, I can go change the notifications. So I'm going to go into CPR. And let's say that the email people are receiving as part of signing up for this seminar doesn't include all of the information I want it to. What I can do is I'm going to go in to the seminar itself. And in seminar administration, I'm going to go under my notifications. So these are all the default notifications that go out. Again, they can be notifications that show up in a block. They can show up here. They can show up via email, depending on what we've chosen for our Totoro notifications to go out as, and to come in as if we're coming from the user perspective. Again, this language is being inherited from a language pack. So if you never wanted to say all reservations canceled as a title for an email, you can go and update that so that in the future when you create seminars, they start with different standard text. The other thing to note is that we can go through and, in this case, with seminars, we can have notifications that are specific to this one seminar, just like you can have notifications specific to a specific program, so that the language is specific for that thing instead of being more general. So Notifications are very broad in Totara. You can look at the language pack as a place to make the changes. You can look at the individual feature and see if there's notifications tied directly to it in its settings. That's another great place to check out to see, where did this email come from and why does it have this language and how do I update it? Those are the pieces we're looking at. So I'm going to leave the floor open for questions just in case you do have specific questions about certain features within Totara. I do want to just give you a couple closing slides with some resources. If you're ready for more, visit Totara.community. The course about localization will take you through notifications and more generally language packs in general. Totara.help, you can go and search and look for notifications, look for messaging, and learn how to make changes there. Visit our website, of course, and you can always visit our demo site, which is on version 12 if you're learning how to use 12, or if you want to go make some tweaks to a site without affecting your current site. It automatically resets. It's either every 24 or 48 hours. I think it's every 24 hours, so you can go and make some changes and see what those are going to look like. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you joining us for a complex subject. If you have specific questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A. Also, join us on Totara.community. Add your questions into and your feature suggestions into the community discussion forums. We're happy to take a look. If we can answer the questions, we will. Otherwise, we can, put in tickets requesting suggestions for features. Thank you all for your time and attention. I'll stick around just for another couple of minutes in case anybody has any questions.